The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers, and welcome to another exciting episode of Reader's Magnet featured author interview, where we dive deep into the world of creativity and inspiration. And our guest for today is the author of the book Land Over Time, and today we'll talk about her book, Sherwood History. So please help me welcome June Reynolds. So, June, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. It's hot here, but I got my air conditioner on, so I'm okay. I'm in my studio. This is my studio. The last time I did an interview, I was in my bedroom. So I've upgraded myself a little bit here.
Love that, love that. And hey, to all of our viewers, if you want to check that out, though, I believe you were talking about a different series that you have that, as well with your books. Is that correct, June? With the previous
Yeah,
interview.
okay. Do you want, okay. Well, uh, the 4 books that I have
Mm-hmm. Sure, there. Lyle's
are
lyric.
Lyle's Lyrics is the last one. It's a poetry book.
Mm-hmm.
And then River of Wind,
Mm-hmm.
and then Land Over
Over
Time.
time.
This
Mm-hmm.
is the one that's being featured in Chicago, Land Over Time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is Something in the Sky. And this
Love.
is a series of young adult books.
Mm.
And again, they take place in Sherwood, Oregon, but
Mm-hmm.
it has a little bit of a nationwide appeal because
Oh.
this is a teenager like any other teenager, and he goes through all the same things that all teenagers go through um, when they're in high school.
Love that, love that. And today, so again, so to all of our viewers, so feel free to check those books out. And right now, we'll be talking about Sherwood History. So we're going to be adding links down in the comment section below for you guys to check out the book and grab a copy as soon as possible. There, perfect, love it. Sherwood History. So talking more about this book, and for us to at least have for your viewers to have an idea on what this book is. So, June, can you please give us an idea on what Sherwood History is all about?
Well, in 1999, I moved back to my old hometown of Sherwood, Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
and I got involved with a couple of community things, which is what I normally do. Is when I teach in a certain community, I live in the community, and so here I was back in my own old hometown, and I got involved with the Sherwood Historical Society that was trying to get established. And as it turned out, by 2001, I was
Oh.
writing the history of Sherwood. And
Hmm.
so, if I can turn just a minute,
Sure.
I have um, this is the first book, and it was I started it in 2001. I finished it at the end of 2006. And it's a pretty thick book,
Mm-hmm.
as you can see. And it goes back to prehistory and then on forward to 1919 at the end of World War I.
Oh.
And then I published this book 6 years later, Sherwood, A Sense of Lives and Times. And this book mostly talks about all the people in the Sherwood history, and it covers from 1920 to 1939. So it's just 2 decades, and look how thick it is.
Yeah, it
I,
is. It is a thick book.
my my whole surprise was the fact that we had so much history in this little area here. It's just
Mhm.
incredible when you start thinking about it. And then people started opening up. and they said,
Mhm.
"Hey, June, I have a picture. Hey, June, I have a story for you." And so I didn't know what to do about that because I already published 2 books and couldn't afford to republish them. So what I did was um, after much consideration, I started an addendum. So
Mm.
this is Sherwood Tales from the Attic, a continuing volume 1 at the time.
Oh.
And now I'm actually working on a second addendum, and it'll cover all the way through World War II. So
Mm.
right now with this book,
Mhm.
I just like to say that the World War II book really gives you an idea about a blueprint for doing your own
Mm.
history, your own local history. So I just thought
Mm.
I'd bring that up. It's
Wow.
quite the hobby.
Hey, doing research and writing down history is a hobby that consumes time and also has a lot of research behind it. And that's a very beautiful hobby, if you ask me, June. So,
It's
and
been really interesting. I've learned a lot about my hometown.
mm, and June, because I'm checking right this book right now, Volume 3, because again, it covers not just the war. I do understand that, but it also covers the aftermath. So, talking about Sherwood, so what shifts did you observe in Sherwood between wartime and the post-war years then?
Well, one of the things is that I do everything chronological as I
Hmm.
can because sometimes things crop up. I'm
Yeah.
trying to always give comparisons to what happened in 1940 that's happening today. And
Oh.
so when I started this, um, we're in 1940. America is not in the war yet. We're kind of not really wanting to be in the war.
Hmm.
And so I start off with talking about what was happening at the high school. What was the culture of the high school? It was a big thing back then. And the moms and dads of Sherwood had literally built the high school themselves. So
Mm.
you can imagine all the pride and all the importance put into the high school. So that's all going along, and they're having their football games and their May Day experiences and all these things. And then all of a sudden, wham, out of the blue, Pearl Harbor is bombed.
Mm.
And in Oregon, let me tell you, Hawaii and even Japan are really, really close to us. You know, there
Mm.
might be a big ocean in between, but for us here in Oregon, it was a really big thing. And a lot of the Japanese actually did manage to crash a few planes. They tried to drop all kinds of weird paper mache bombs that we still found even in the 50s.
Mhm.
Um, they were afraid there would be a ground attack at Heceta Head Lighthouse.
Oh.
And that's, you know what, 60 miles from where we live. So uh, for us, it was a big thing. And all of a sudden, there was a huge, who cared about the high school after that?
Mhm.
We had to get mobilized, and that's what happened. We had to set up a whole series of mobilizations from everything from getting the army, our army, to become involved in the war, to the fact that all of the people that were working in the factories were gone and women had to be taking it over. Um, we had a lot of Japanese planes in the air, and we had to do a lot of bird watching, which is
Mm.
not watching for birds, but actual planes. So all
Okay.
of this entered in. It was a very, uh, all of a sudden, like the flip of a coin, and all of a sudden, our whole reality had changed here in Sherwood. So it's really
Mm,
interesting to get into things like the air raid sirens
mhm,
and the fact that they had fire patrol and they had civil service um, uh, security for 24/7, every day, every hour, there was somebody on patrol looking up at the sky or figuring out how they were going to um, uh, put out a fire. And I mean, they had a whole web. So it was not just the Sherwood Fire Department, but it was the Tualatin Fire Department, which was next door. And all of that, all the web of the services still remain to this day in 2025, where we have a large interconnected fire service, uh, safety and patrol officers, and all that kind of thing. So,
mm.
a lot came out of the World War II, not real great things, but at least some.
Hey, again, there are a lot of things when it comes with history experiences as well that are really worth sharing. And I do believe, June, that you have done research and again talking more about people with insure. But just want to ask you because again, I do understand that this book have some personal stories or interviews within this volume. So, is there any particular story that you found that moved you deeply or challenged your understanding of that period?
Um, well, I'm kind of like a product of World War II because
Mhm,
my family came together after World War II, so I heard a lot of stories, and the
mhm,
same was true in Sherwood. Um, I didn't start in Sherwood, but by the time I was 10, I was here in Sherwood and started hearing all the World War II stories here. And some of them were kind of like whimsical kind of stories, like hooting and hollering. That's a
mhm,
personal story by our dear friend Odge Gribble. And
okay,
she came from a huge family of 9 children. And she was pretty much the youngest. I think she was second to the youngest. And so one day in Podunk, Sherwood, um, the her mother and her sister and she were they were deadheading flowers. They had a big flower business, so they were deadheading flowers. And at the end of their shift, the sister and Odge was only 15 at the time. She was just entering high school at the time. And so they started downtown. Their mom gave them some quarters for some ice cream. And so they started downtown in Old Town Sherwood, which still exists today. And they encountered 4 huge army trucks of new
mm,
recruits. And at the time, Sherwood, um, it didn't have 99W. It had another road which connected back to 99W. So these army people came zooming into town, and of course they're hooting and hollering at
mhm,
all the ladies in town and
okay,
waving at them. It was very, very cute. And of course the girls, they had their own jokes about it. They had you'll see them in the book. So they're joking around, and they don't know, and they of course realize that these troops were also joking and hooting at them and kissing, making kissing sounds and all this kind of stuff. And
mhm,
so that was that. And this was a big thing for a bunch of young girls in Sherwood
okay,
in those days. So it was almost, kind of risque in a way,
mhm,
but but they loved it. And so that's one of the stories. I Aj always tells me stories. She doesn't
mhm,
like tell me the family history. Instead, she tells me stories, and they're much better, and they tell
Mhm.
much more about what's going on in Sherwood than any little fact or factoid or, date or whatever. So that's something that we'll all remember for sure from this book.
Love that. Love that. And June, talking more about this book and how this book came to fruition. And talk about keeping history within small towns. So I just want to ask you though, especially for readers there who are also planning and doing their research and writing their own books about history. So why do you believe that it's really important for small towns like Sherwood to preserve and share their own histories of major global events like World War II and such?
Oh man, well, um, landmarks are one
Mhm.
thing. Why is this house over here built at a Y in the road? Here's this road, it truncates off, and then there's two more roads from it. And why is there this deep ditch here that runs for miles and miles? Well, that happened to have been the cannery uh, ditch that, and people, they go, well, we'll build our house right by this depression here. And I go, no, that's a cannery ditch and it fills up with water every year. I don't
Mhm.
think that'd be a good idea. Um, so people don't understand about natural or man-made landmarks. That's one of the things. Um, and I think that people have to have sort of a sense of place. They need to know about where is this place we live in? Why
Mhm.
is there this hill right here? And why is there this big wetland out here? How did that get made? And what do we
Mhm.
use it for today? And that kind of thing. So those are I think in every town there's a sense of time, and we get that in history books, but we don't get as much sense of place.
Mhm.
Why are these rocks 1,000 feet on Parrot Mountain? Well, the
Mhm.
reason why is the Ice Age floods came through there and deposited those rocks there. And, these are things that I think should be more important to people than other things, gossip or whatever. So, yeah, it's, there's a lot of things. The idea that this place belongs to you. You're a child, you're 10 years old, but this place belongs to you. This is your community. Why do
Mhm.
we have a community? We have 100 different churches, barbershops, schools, all kinds of things that are institutions that make up your community. And
True.
in Oregon, we actually have a state standard in our schools talking about our community. And you wouldn't believe the stuff that the kids come up with, that they tell me all kinds of interesting things, or they go, oh, now I understand why that house is up there at that Y in the
Mm.
road, and why there's three names for three roads there. These are the kinds of things that we're trying to do. And then there's tradition. Here we
Mm.
are, Sherwood. We were named after Nottingham, Robin Hood. So, of course, after the troops came home in World War II, they were in this beautiful little community in Switzerland that reminded them of Sherwood, Oregon. And
Mm.
they thought, oh, maybe we should have some sort of a harvest festival or some sort of festival talking about little towns, small towns, etc. And so that's how the Robin Hood Festival got started, which is one of the longest running festivals that we have in Sherwood. Thousands of people come there every year, and we just got done having it.
Mm.
Um, and what is the heritage? What is the traditions? Those are the things that we're looking at and trying to gather together for understanding.
Love that, love that. And you know, I do agree with you, June. Like, it's really important to preserve history and pass this to future generations. Because again, it's not always like you receive things and okay, it's just normal, but knowing the reason why these things exist in the first place and knowing how this came into fruition and what are the cultural background of these events, these histories, and these certain places in a even a small town or any town, basically in the US is really
Right.
very viable and important. And that is really wonderful, especially the advocacy that you have here, June. So, you know what? So, all of our viewers and book lovers, I would highly suggest to grab a copy of June Reynolds' book. That again, that is Sherwood History, and also on top of it, try to check out her other books. These are good reads, and it's nice to have the Sherwood History volumes and include those addendums, the addendum books as well. Add them up, and also the volume 2 addendum that will be available soon. So stay tuned and try to check those out. So, you know, June, as we come with the end of today's conversation, I just want to take a moment and say thank you very much for what you're doing, especially doing history and sharing your knowledge with the world, especially Sherwood's history. So, and if there is there any message that you want to share to your future readers, if ever they'll be picking up your book, reading it, and is there any message you want them to have, like a major takeaway after reading your book?
I think after you get done reading this, there's a lot of amazing things and normal facts.
Mhm.
But there also is the idea that this would be a blueprint for your own town, your
Mhm.
own local history. It doesn't matter if it's in Oregon or California or Arizona, wherever you are, you have an immense amount of local history that should be kind of paid attention to. And it answers a lot of questions. A lot of people go, well, why was there this dip here in this lawn? Well, it's because there used to be go, oh.
Okay.
So anyway, that is pretty much it.
Love that, love that. And you know what? Again, to all of our viewers, I'd just like to say thank you very much for tuning in. And always remember that every ending is just a new beginning in the world of stories. May your reading adventures be endless and your imagination boundless. And as we say here at Reader's Magnet, we share your stories with the world. Thank you and have a good one. Thanks, June. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you.